Good evening. My name is Janice Fleming, President of the League of Women Voters of Plainfield. On behalf of the League, I'm pleased to welcome you to this council forum. The League's partner in presenting this forum is Tap Into Plainfield, represented here by Jennifer Popper. We appreciate their nonpartisan participation and support. The League of Women Voters is a trusted membership organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. The League never supports or opposes candidates for office, political parties. Any use of the League name or footage from the forum in campaign materials, literature, or advertising of any kind, including internet, cable, or television, has not been authorized by the League of Women Voters and is not permitted. The moderator for this forum is Ann D. Armstrong of the Somerset Hunterdon County's League of Women Voters. Ann joined the League in 1994. She served as co-president and voter chair for the Raritan Valley League of Women Voters prior to its extinction. As a trained League of Women Voter moderator since 1992, she served as a moderator for congressional, county, township council, and Board of Education candidates nights. She served as treasurer on the League of Women Voters New Jersey State Board in 2011 to 2013, subsequently serving as budget chair for League of Women Voters for New Jersey. Since its inception, Ann has been an ardent supporter of the League of Women Voters of New Jersey's Vote 411. In 2019, she earned the New Jersey League's Distinguished Service Award. Ann?
Thank you, Janice. Welcome to all of you. And as Janice said, my name is Ann Armstrong, and I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Hunterdon and Somerset counties. I want you to realize that I am not a voting member of your district of Plainfield. And that's one of the policies that the League holds true to. There are 4 candidates in the Plainfield mayoral primary election, and there are 3 candidates for 1 seat on the Plainfield Council to represent the 4th Ward. Each set of candidates are vying for 1 place on the Plainfield Democratic ticket for the general election in November. Before introducing the candidates, I'd like to explain the format. For approximately the first half hour, we will hear from the candidates for the Plainfield Council 4th Ward. We will conclude the forum hearing from the candidates for Plainfield Mayor. Each race will have the same format. We will begin with the candidates' opening statements. The candidates will then be asked questions in rotating order. Each candidate will be given a set time to answer each question. After the question and answer period, the candidates will each give a brief closing statement. The candidates for Plainfield Council in the 4th Ward are Terri Briggs-Jones, Stacey Welch, Taleana Williams Hurst. We will begin with the opening statement of Stacey Welch.
Good evening, all. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters. And I am Stacey Welch, a resident right here of the 4th Ward for over 46 years. I am also the owner of LeVay Sweet Shop, which is in our downtown business district here in the city of Plainfield. 5 years ago, I began Your Cupcake Lady Cares, which is a nonprofit that focuses on food insecurity and basic needs of others. I am pursuing the seat as 4th Ward counselor to better the 4th Ward, to be the one to speak for a safer and cleaner Plainfield.
We will now hear from Taleana Williams Hurst.
Hi, my name is Taleana Williams Hurst, and I've lived in Plainfield since 1997. I am also president and CEO of Wally and Xavier's Autistic Kids Can Do, a nonprofit organization that supports families that have children affected by autism and or have special needs between the ages of 3 to 21. We have participated in many community events that have been held in the city of Plainfield as well. I just had one Dupree School of Art. It was an art show and also a what we call a ghost walk that showcased the history of the people who made Plainfield famous back in the day. What I wanted to say, thank you for having me on this forum. I plan on helping Plainfield unite. Thank you.
Thank you. The last candidate for council in the 4th Ward is Terri Briggs-Jones.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank the League of Women's Voters for having this forum, as well as the community for tuning in. Last but not least, the other candidates for having the courage to run for office. My name is Terri Briggs-Jones, proud wife and mother of 2 sons. I've been in Plainfield for 52 years and a lifelong resident of the 4th Ward. The decision to run for office is based on my community involvement, to name a few: Neighborhood Block Association, NAACP, Feeding the Homeless, SALT Program, Save a Life Today, working with the Prosecutor's Office, MRS Club, members of Responsible Society. We need someone in the 4th Ward that will advocate and listen to the residents of their concerns. If you take a look around our city, it looks like it's 2 different worlds. I often question, what type of budget do we have for the 4th Ward and where's the money? Okay, we're going to have 2 apartment buildings. However, that's not enough. We need more community policing and police presence for the safety of our community. If you take a look around at where the most crime is, that is the 4th Ward. I will bring firsthand knowledge of the city of council, of years of communication with the people in my ward. We want to always include us as an equal part of our city.
Thank you very much. All right. We will now is the time for submitted questions. And the first person to answer that question will be Terri Briggs-Jones. The first question is, what is your position on the council's role in the redevelopment plans for the 4th Ward? Terri?
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, my position as far as the redevelopment, what I would like to see is, I see that the apartments have came up, but we don't need any more apartments. Right now, we need to focus on the safety. The redevelopment is great, but we need to focus on the safety, because being here, right here in the 4th Ward, we have a lot of things going on. And safety right now, for me, is my priority. Everything else can wait. We develop enough apartments, and that's okay. But right now, that is my priority in this ward.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Stacey Welch. Same question. What's your position on the council's role in the redevelopment plans for the 4th Ward?
My position on the council's goals for redevelopment is to see more job opportunities. When families have the opportunity to provide, and when they have jobs to go to, something close in their area, it brings a sense of pride. That will also create more public safety. We need to build and redevelop. There's way too many empty spaces here that have been left abandoned for years. As we are building more housing, that creates more opportunity for jobs here in our community. I think that it's a great, I think what we're seeing right now is just a great platform, because development is happening in the 4th Ward.
Thank you. Taleana Williams-Hurst.
I think that the redevelopment is great. It's great for any city. However, here in Plainfield, especially the 4th Ward, there are, like the other candidates have said, there's a lot of issues that are going on, and safety is, of course, of utmost importance. However, I think that in order to ensure that there's safety, that we need to also invest in the police officers having more foot patrol, having them coming around in the neighborhoods, and even bringing back the neighborhood watch program. It's great. People need jobs. That's the reason why there's a lot of things that are going on, because people need to be working and they need to be busy, and they need to be able to take care of their family and feel safe as well as here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question, and
Can I rebuttal?
oh yes, of course. I'm sorry, Terri, go right ahead.
I wanted to say, as far as the development is concerned, and as she was saying with the jobs, with all of these developments going up, I don't believe that there is a lot of Plainfield people that was hired. So that's a concern for me also as well. If people are hired, you can take them off the streets, and that'll help the safety also for Plainfield, especially in the 4th Ward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Rebuttal?
I would just like to say also, like what Terry was saying, yes, we need more, we need people to be busy. We need them to be able to make a living and to work. But as I also saw, there are I didn't see any people that looked like they came from Plainfield. I didn't. So what's the issue? Why are these people? I'm quite sure there's a lot of people that are crafty and that can do a lot of things. Why aren't these people being hired?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Stacey Welch, go ahead, rebuttal. Unmute yourself.
I'm going to jump in. People are being hired. People are applying for the jobs. And what's so important is training so that when the jobs open, you have the ability to provide that job. So people are being hired in these developments. We definitely have the plan to hire people that live in Plainfield.
All right, thank you, ladies. Let's go to now rebuttals are over now. We're going to go to the second question, all right? What is your view of the council's role in the budget process to support the 4th Ward? And we'll start with Stacey Welch.
So I believe the council's role is to review the budget and make sure that the money is being spent evenly, taking into consideration in each ward, how many people live there, how many people have different needs in those actual areas. The city is broken down by 4 wards in total, but each of those wards have a different number of people. So that is what changes where the needs fall and how we have to respond. The 4th Ward in the city of Plainfield has been neglected for a long time. And there is a lot more that needs to be done here than needs to happen in the other wards. This is why the 4th Ward is at a time that it has to be addressed and cannot be neglected anymore.
Thank you. Taleana Williams Hurst, same question.
Can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry, because my
Sure.
husband distracted me.
Men. What is your view of the council's role in the budget process to support the 4th Ward?
I think there's not enough money being put into the 4th Ward. We can look around, we can see it. It's evident. I think what they should do is have a little empathy and really connect with the people that live in the 4th Ward to find out how can they solve their issues? How can they help them? Give them resources, give them tools that they can use. It's something that all they need to do is just look around. And it's evident, it's there. And I live in the 4th Ward, of course, and I see what it look like.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
done.
All right. And the same question, last person is Terri Briggs-Jones about the budget.
Yes, my role as city council, as far as the budget is concerned, you can just see exactly what's going on. Take a look, there's 4 wards. And you see that the money is spent other places. We need to beautify the 4th Ward. There's not enough money there. And as far as the population is concerned, you see how it is. It's 2 different worlds. Once you cross Park Avenue, that's it. And then when you come down on Central Avenue and further, I'm right here in the 4th Ward, and I've been here 52 years. So I know, and I've been here most of the time. What should happen is we need to examine the budget and see how much money is being spent. All the wards, and we need to put more money into the 4th Ward, the street sweeping schedule, the trash and everything. And it's really ridiculous. And I just believe that they just need to do something else about this. They need to pay more attention to it. And that's my motto. We will not be ignored anymore. The time is now.
Thank you. Stacey Welch with a rebuttal, 30 seconds.
I think as a council member, it's going to be essential that you go in with the mindset of working together, helping the other council members to understand that the fourth ward should not be neglected. The fourth ward needs more help at this time than anywhere else in the city. Building that unity amongst the other council members, because one vote will never get you anything. It's going to take unanimous care and concern. So being able to share what the needs are is going to be essential.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll go on to the next question then. Many of the fourth ward residents feel their concerns are not heard. What are your plans to hear and address the concerns of these residents? We will start with Taleana Williams Hurst. And again, we're talking about fourth ward residents' concerns.
I could, when you finish, can you repeat that question again? Because my phone's still kind of low. Okay.
Taleana, did you hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what I would say is that being that I advocate for special needs families. And the thing about it is that I want to be able to communicate with these people, let them know that I care about them. I understand their concerns because, I'm here in the fourth ward and I see exactly what goes on. So being that I can advocate, I'm pretty good at it. I will definitely fight for them to improve their lives and make their lives better. They need resources, they need tools. They need to understand how to use the resources as well. So a resource is no good if it's just sitting on the table and people don't know how to interact with the resource. So I think there's a lot of things that can be done, even within the school system. We need to bring the trades back because a lot of these kids, they don't have the skills. And it's like, what do I do? We don't have a community center. We don't have nowhere to go. So
Okay.
I think it's been neglected far too long.
Okay, thank you very much. Now that question again for Terri is, many of the fourth ward residents feel their concerns are not heard. What are your plans to hear and address the concerns of these residents?
Well, what I would do is, first of all, and like we were saying with the other question, as far as the budget and the monies and things being spent and with the fourth ward and cleaning and everything. First of all, if I have to stand alone with the community, I will. And if I'm just one vote, it could be one vote, but I'm going to stand with the community because it's about all of us. It's about we. It's not about one person. So with that being said, with the concerns, you can see that that the fourth ward is being ignored. If you take a look around, it's very prevalent for me to hear gunshots at night. I'm almost immune to it, and I hear that. Now I don't know about all the other candidates, but I know what the gunshots look here. I know what I hear at night. I know I see the ambulance running quite often. And I also, with me being where I live at also as well, I always look out for the residents around me, especially the elderly people, because I'm concerned about them. But yes, they don't be heard. They're not heard.
Thank you. Stacey Welch, same question.
I think being visible and being transparent. Today, we have a number of platforms, from social media to our standard phones to emails, and actually being present. As a business owner, I am here every day, all day. Not only do I live here in the fourth ward, but I work right here at the end of that line on Watchung Avenue. So I am always available to my community. I see it from Church Place to Watchung Avenue every single day. So being able to pick up the phone, email, Facebook, Instagram, however it is that you need to communicate, that's how I'll be present, because I'm here to respond. When you need your councilwoman, Stacey Welch is available.
Thank you. All right, we're on to the next question now. What are your plans for the empty warehouses in poor condition? And we're going to start with Terri Briggs-Jones.
What are my plans for the empty
warehouses in poor condition?
Well, what we need to do is we need to tear them down. So if they're in poor conditions, we need to tear them down, and we need to look for other resources for some things to go there. One thing I can say is we don't have a recreation center, and we have nowhere for our kids to go. So let's examine and see where this warehouse is that needs to be torn down, and see if it'll be prevalent so that we can put something out for the children also as well. If not, we still need to look for resources, because we need more ratables. Ratables, what that does is that stabilizes taxes, and that keeps the taxes down. So with that being said, we need to go and look and see how we can use that space that will be prevalent to our community, and that would be that would help our community, and something that we can do, and it'll be prevalent for us.
Thank you. Stacey Welch, the empty warehouses.
The empty warehouses that we have here in the 4th Ward, without a question, the property needs to be sold. We need for someone to come along with an amazing plan. Let it be a company, let it be something community-based, but whatever it is, it definitely needs to build revenue. More revenue allows for more services, more presence, more. When things are going on, it stays a positive environment. We, without a question, need to make the 4th Ward safer. As it builds, it will become something that becomes more of an attraction to others. Safety, sales, all run side by side. Selling these properties that are left abandoned will create money and will always bring in tax revenue, and that's essential.
Okay, thank you very much. Taleana Williams Hurst.
Okay, just like the other two candidates were saying, but empty warehouses can be used for our youth. We need training programs. We need other partnerships with other organizations who would love to come and invest in Plainfield. I mean, Plainfield was called the Queen City. It wasn't called the Queen City for nothing. We need people to, I would really want to say we need to bring the world to Plainfield. We need to let people know this is a beautiful city. We have wonderful residents, but our youth in the 4th Ward need support. They need help. We need to have some type of corporation training programs for them, so that they feel as though there is a purpose. They do have a purpose here, and that someone cares about them. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, rebuttal, go right ahead.
I just want to say that we keep building and talking about building redevelopment. What about our children? They're our future. We got to talk about them also as well, because they're coming up, and we want to make sure that we be the example for them. So that way, if we put something in place for them, the recreation center, like I said, then, the children are already in a mental state right now. With this COVID and everything, it has really done a lot of damage. So we have to really, really concentrate on our children just as well as this development. They are our future, and it's just very, very important.
Anyone else rebuttal? Stacey Welch, go ahead.
As a mother of a 16-year-old young man, that's one of our students that has been totally quarantined since COVID broke, I totally understand that we have to create more programs, but we also have beautiful schools that are right here in our community that we can partner with the city to develop programs so that we have more access for our kids after school programs.
Okay, thank you. Taleana, you have any rebuts for that, or should we go on to the next one?
Go
Okay,
on to the next one.
thank you. Next question, ladies. And this is our last question for this forum, all right? The PMUA will be in existence 30 years while you're in office. What is your view of their performance, and what are your plans to improve these services? Stacey Welch, we'll begin with you.
I am actually disappointed with the PUMA. I think that the quality of service that we are currently receiving definitely needs to be reevaluated, restructured, and is not acceptable. I think that the council needs to come along and make the PUMA accountable for the services that they are not providing to our residents.
Okay, thank you. Taleana Williams.
I have to piggyback on that. I live in the 4th Ward. I don't know if this is a 4th Ward thing. I don't know, but I'm very disappointed in the PMUA. I mean, sometimes our recyclables are not picked up for sometimes 1 cycle, and then sometimes 2 cycles. It's just, they need to get it together. They really do. Because we don't want rodents, cats, feral cats, all in the garbage. And I mean, even though the containers are safe, sometimes people pile their stuff up because their garbage hasn't been picked up. And that's an eyesore. So they can do better. I know they can. It hasn't always been like this. So they just needed to get it together because, like I said, it's an eyesore to see trash and boxes and things like that in the street and have not been picked up.
Okay, thank you very much. Terri Briggs-Jones, same question.
Yes. Okay. Now, as far as the PMUA is concerned, they're not the worst of the worst, and they're not the best of the best. They do whatever they can, and they try to do whatever they can with what they have. Now, City Council definitely needs to partner with PMUA to make this thing happen. However, if someone would just please take the time out and look at these guys' salaries, their salaries, something needs to happen with that. They have to work too. If they don't have living wage, and they can't, how are they supposed to survive working 15 and 20 years and still making the same thing? Maybe we need to re-examine some of them salaries going on to see if we can do something about that. That's a very big concern of mine. And again, if they need to be retrain them. And it's okay. And it's okay to retrain them. But however, something needs to happen with that salary. And those guys, they're doing their best. I don't want to be out there at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. And you have to talk to them and see what's what.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone? Yes, Stacey Welch, 30-second rebuttal.
A cleaner Plainfield is a necessity. The 4th Ward is the part of the city that I find consistently looks the worst. The PUMA, I have seen them literally ride past trash. Things are not getting picked up, and there's a lot of shuffling whose responsibility it is. We need to hold them accountable.
Thank you. Anyone else? 30 seconds. Go ahead, Terri Briggs-Jones.
Yes, they would definitely need to hold them accountable. But again, those guys are not perfect, and it hasn't always been like that. And again, those guys' salaries need to be examined. We need to do something about it. Everybody needs to come together collectively. Yes, it is a mess some areas, but what can we do? Come together collectively, do what we need to do, and let's pull our bootstraps up and let's help them. Everybody help each other. It's not about just one person. It's about all of us. It's about the community.
Okay, thank you very much. We've now finished with the submitted questions, and we will now have the candidates' closing statements, beginning with Terri Briggs-Jones. 1 minute.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, all right. I have learned that as long as I hold fast to my beliefs and values, follow my own moral compass, then the only expectations I need to live up to are my own, by the Michelle Obama. What I'm saying, I believe in the city of Plainfield. However, the 4th Ward needs someone who will voice our needs and concerns about safety, street repair, and maintenance, including curbing like the other wards have received, increased police presence and support of our 4th Ward, youth, families, businesses, and partners. I've learned through discussions that many don't know who their current representatives are because they haven't seen them in our 4th Ward neighborhood. I will be proactive and continue to support the 4th Ward residents, businesses, and partners. Starting on June 8th, let's go to work. Vote column C for an improved quality of life for the 4th Ward. And remember, the C for 1st and 2nd Ward, the other C for 3rd and 4th Ward means love. Let's put love back into the city. Everyone, each one, teach one, reach one. No man is an island to themselves. Everyone is a servant. And I'm here to serve you.
Thank you. Taleana Williams Hurst, your closing statement.
What I would like to say is that I would like to unite Plainfield. There's a lot of disparity amongst us, amongst the residents. And I would like to see everyone united. We do have a high immigrant community. A lot of them don't speak the same languages, even though they may sound like they do. But what we need to do is understand their cultural and customs, and just try to do the best that we can to help, like Ms. Briggs was saying, to help one another, to be there for one another, because we can't stand unless we are united. And I'm here for Plainfield. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Closing statement for Stacey Welch. Go ahead.
But I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event again for us. I'd also like to thank everyone that tuned in. I'd like to thank the other two candidates that are running for the 4th Ward, because it is clear that we all have a true love and passion for the city of Plainfield. What now needs to happen is we need to continue to work on this city. The 4th Ward needs a representative that is not going to just talk about action, but is about action. I'm not here to promise you a ton of things that I'm going to do. What I'm going to tell you is that I will continue to do what I'm doing, which is service. I started what was called the 4th Ward cleanup, where we got out there and started picking up, creating pride for our city. As I continue as a business owner and a resident and a nonprofit founder, it is work. And I will continue to work as your 4th Ward counselor, column A, all the way.
Thank you very much. All right, that concludes our council segment. I'd like to thank the council candidates for their participation today, for doing an excellent job and deciding to serve the Plainfield community. We now return to Janice Fleming from the Plainfield League of Women Voters to continue with the mayor segment of our candidates forum.
Good evening. My name is Janice Fleming, President of the League of Women Voters of Plainfield. On behalf of the League, I am pleased to welcome you to this mayoral forum. The League's partner in presenting this forum is Tap into Plainfield, represented here by Jennifer Popper. We appreciate their nonpartisan participation and support. The League of Women Voters is a trusted membership organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. The League never supports or opposes candidates for office or political parties. Any use of the League name or footage from the forum in campaign materials, literature, or advertising of any kind, including internet, cable, or television, has not been authorized by the League of Women Voters and is not permitted. The moderator for this forum is Ann Armstrong of the Somerset Hunterdon County's League of Women Voters. Ann joined the League in 1984. She served as a co-president and voted chair for the Raritan Valley League of Women Voters prior to its extinction. As a trained League of Women Voter moderator since 1992, she served as the moderator for congressional, county, township, council, and Board of Education candidates nights. She served as treasurer on the League of Women Voters New Jersey State Board in 2011 through 2013, subsequently serving as a budget chair for the League of Women Voters of New Jersey. Since its inception, Ann has been an ardent supporter of the League of Women Voters New Jersey's Vote 411. In 2019, she earned the New Jersey League's Distinguished Service Award. We're lucky to have her. Ann?
Thank you, Janice. The format for the mayoral candidates will be the same as for the council candidates, with opening statements, responses to submitted questions, and closing statements. There are 4 candidates in the Plainfield mayoral primary election. The candidates are Henrilynn Ibezim, Adrian O. Mapp, Sean McKenna, and Richard A. Wyatt, Jr. We will begin with the opening statement of Richard Wyatt.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Rita Davis, the moderators, and the League of Women Voters for organizing this event tonight, and the viewers for tuning in. for their anticipated participation in the election on June 8th. My name is Richard Wyatt. I'm a mayoral candidate for the city of Plainfield, running on column C. I'm a fourth-generation Plainfield resident, a graduate of Plainfield High, a father of 3 beautiful children, a city employee, a member of the Board of Education, and a devoted community activist. The current administration will have you believe that Plainfield is in perfect condition, but that's just not the reality. Plainfield is suffering. 30% of our neighbors are unemployed. Nearly 1/3 are living in poverty. We're food insecure, our schools need funding, crime is high, housing is unaffordable. He's promoted a series of policies that have pushed for the overdevelopment of unnecessary apartment structures while failing to offer the desperately needed services to our current residents. I love our city, and we have a responsibility as members of this community to return Plainfield to its era of excellence and keep it there. Once again, I thank the members of the league for having me here this evening, and I look forward to the opportunity to discuss my platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Mapp. Opening statement.
Well, hello and good evening, Plainfield. I am seeking re-election to a 3rd term based on my record of accomplishment. My staff and I have brought our city from the brink of disaster to a thriving success story, one that is now the envy of neighboring towns whose residents are moving to Plainfield in droves. Named number 9 of the top 25 cities in the nation, where property values are rising the fastest. We have over $1 billion in economic redevelopment. We have lowered taxes for the 2nd year in a row, invested millions of dollars in recreational spaces, paved 123 streets across all 4 wards, significantly reduced crime year over year, responded aggressively and effectively to the pandemic, provided job training and job placement for many of our residents who were seeking employment, so much so that prior to the pandemic, our unemployment have dropped to a historic low of 3.6%, down from a high of almost 14% when I first took office. The Queen City has reclaimed its crown. I intend to keep our city moving forward with your help. I believe that the vast majority of you will agree and will return to office.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now hear from Sean McKenna. 1 minute.
Thank you very much to the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum, and your dedication to educating and empowering voters is not only appreciated, but sadly as important today as it was when you were founded. I'm honored tonight to participate in this event and answer questions. And I will tell you that my platform is based on Plainfield and not politics. I don't believe that good government is an oxymoron. I believe good government is possible. And I think that working together, talking out in the open, having robust debate and disagreements, that we can make a difference in our community. I think good government can address things like crime, important issues like crime that we have been seeing lately, blight, quality of life issues, and some of the mundane issues like dog licenses, construction permits, and certificates of occupancy that are filled with red tape, long delays, confusing and ridiculous paperwork. Good government is not anti-development, but it is not pro-development at the expense of taxpayers, especially when they are subsidizing the development through tax breaks and abatements.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And last, we'll hear from Henrilynn Ibezim.
Ms. Henrilynn Ibezim. I have lived in Plainfield for the past 24 years. Unlike those who were born here, I came here making the choice to live in Plainfield. And that choice, addition to the city I called home for the last 24 years. Things are not at its best as you look at them. Whatever the claims are, you do not have to be a rocket scientist to see that things are not working out well. You need a new man, and that new management is what I intend to bring to Plainfield in the coming year. there are too many issues at stake. You're only able to give knowledge when you have it. If you do not have it, you cannot give it. So information is important. You have to find the information, and with that information, you can make a difference.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll now have the submitted questions. And the first question, excuse me, is, if elected, name one economic development strategy you would advocate for during your 4-year term. Now, according to my notes, Mr. Ibezim, did you hear the question? How about Adrian Mapp? We'll come to you first. We're talking about one economic development strategy you would advocate for during your 4-year term, next 4 years.
Well, I've been advocating for economic redevelopment for my entire terms in office, and I've been successful at that. And I will continue to work diligently each and every day with our redevelopment community, with investors who have demonstrated that they believe in what is happening in Plainfield. They have the confidence in my administration as a result of me making it easy for them to do business here, so much so that we've attracted development that once bypassed us. And those economic redevelopment projects, which bring significant tax dollars into our city, have allowed us for the 2nd year in a row to reduce taxes, stabilize taxes, and we will continue to focus our energies on making sure that we continue to bring development projects into the city that will provide decent quality housing to the people who need it, with a mixture of commercial and residential for the benefit of this entire city.
Thank you very much. Candidate Ibezim, could you unmute yourself and respond to the question, please? If you need it repeated, let me know.
Okay, what was the question?
It says, if elected, name one economic development strategy you would advocate for during your 4-year term.
Well, the citizens, the residents of Plainfield at this time, it doesn't take too much to say that there is great need for them to improve their standard of living. There are too many persons in Plainfield without work. And then, of course, you have the question of crime. You cannot have crime reduced without people having work. So what you want to do is be able to attract enough developments in Plainfield that will be able to afford people with jobs that would then enable them to have a life much better than they have experienced. So I will be out there trying to find people who are willing to come to Plainfield to invest. Plainfield does not have the luxury of being on Route 22. So you have to go out there and find people who are willing to come to Plainfield.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. We'll now hear from Sean McKenna, unmute.
Yes, I think one of the most important things that we need to address is our downtown. And when I'm out and about talking to people as a council person, that's what I hear the most about. I hear a lot about apartments, I hear about other development as well, but I think the downtown needs to be a focus, and I think it needs to be a focus of development. I think we need to rethink the downtown. It's built around a structure that was workable many years ago, and it may need to look a little different. But I think we also need to start focusing on code enforcement and cleaning up the downtown to welcome development. I don't think that we can do the old Field of Dreams concept that if they build it, it will get cleaned up. I think we need to start focusing on the downtown, cleaning it up ourselves, getting rid of all of the ridiculous garbage dumps behind in the back parking lots, and start to act like we care about our downtown, to bring in development and reimagine it so that we have places to go, we have places to shop, and then people have places to work as well.
Thank you. Richard Wyatt.
All right. Yes, thank you. So the focus needs not to be on development, but revitalization. So I ask people when I'm out canvassing a simple question: where do you grocery shop? And we get Watchung, South Plainfield, Cranford, towns outside of Plainfield. I asked them on a nice dating night, where would you go out in the city of Plainfield to date? And they say nowhere. They can't name a single place. We don't have the essential retail services. And if you look at the surrounding towns, even during the pandemic, they were able to have outdoor dining nicely lit up. Our people in Plainfield deserve those same things. So it troubles me to hear someone say that they work diligently every day to make these things happen. And I have not seen that firsthand. I walk through the downtown, I walk around the city of Plainfield, I constantly talk to people within our community, and these things are not happening.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question, and some of you have touched a little bit on this with your first response, but the question is, what specific plans do you have to attract more businesses to Plainfield? Mr. Mapp, you're first.
Well, thank you. I will continue my very intentional focus of reaching out to developers and bringing them into this city. And we are going to transform this city. We have a $120 million redevelopment project that is a major project that would be transformative to our downtown. That will begin construction, I believe, as early as the latter part of this year. That would bring an experience to our city, to our downtown, that would provide commercial development of a high quality, that would see a banquet facility, a major restaurant, and already we have a restaurant that is slated to open, and the only reason it hasn't opened is because of the pandemic. So we have a banquet facility that will seat over 400 people and a state-of-the-art restaurant that is ready to open. The redevelopment will continue and our city, our downtown will continue to rise.
Thank you. Sean McKenna.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't up last time because I just had probably 15 dirt bikes and ATVs drive by down the street at a large noise. I think the issue is that developers don't bring businesses. They'll tell you they'll bring an anchor business. They don't necessarily always deliver on that. I think what we need to do is refocus our energies. I think we need to create a director of IT and innovation that can help us work towards attracting businesses. And I think we need to start embracing some of the concepts of the Bloomberg philanthropies who are working with cities to attract high-tech jobs. I think the banquet facility and restaurant are fantastic, but I would like higher paying jobs in town. I would like high-tech jobs in town. I would like some of the students that are working so hard to learn the new technologies and programming to have a place to exercise that skill within the city of Plainfield without having to commute into the city or elsewhere. So I don't think development brings businesses in. I think it brings buildings in.
Okay, thank you. Richard Wyatt.
Yes, the only thing that Mayor Mapp has developed is unaffordable structures here within the city of Plainfield. So when we talk about development, that's the only thing that I see, and talking to people, that's the only thing they see as well. It has the appearance of a renaissance, but it lacks the substance. And we need to start promoting small businesses. The city of Plainfield has so many entrepreneurs who have great skills, but we as a city do not help and support them. So we need to start taking a step back and looking at those things, as well as the community center, which I'm sure I would be able to address later on, where we are teaching vocational training, career training for our people within the community and those type of things. So, and bare minimum communication. So I work in the tax assessor's office for over a decade now. And the same developers, they come into the office and they say, before I invest in any community, the first thing I do is ride through the downtown. And they say, if you don't care about your downtown area, then there's no way that I'm going to invest my hard-earned money into your city. So we need to start being intentional about those things, as well as looking at the jobs of the future and making sure that we as a city are preparing our community for those jobs.
Thank you. Last is Henrilynn Ibezim. Unmute yourself, please, and answer the question.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes.
What was the question?
Question is, what
What was the
specific,
question?
what specific plans do you have to attract more businesses to Plainfield?
Well, in looking at Plainfield, you want to look at the total population of Plainfield, not just the best of Plainfield, not the lowest of Plainfield. Now, you have to go out to be able to find those who have the resources and willing to help people who are in need. And for you to find these people, you must have a story to tell, the story of Plainfield, the needs of Plainfield. You must make them to understand what Plainfield is going through and how they can make a difference in the lives of people in Plainfield. There are people with plenty of money and they're looking for where to spend their money. You must be able to reach out to them and to be able to convince them to come to Plainfield. And in coming to Plainfield, you tell them what your needs are. What the need of Plainfield is money. You want them to be able to come to Plainfield with their money and to
Okay,
make that difference in the lives of the citizens of Plainfield.
thank you very much. Mr. Mapp, do I see you have a rebuttal? Or
Yes, I
request?
do. So
30
clearly,
seconds.
someone who's been working in the tax assessor's office for over 10 years clearly has just demonstrated his lack of experience and his lack of knowledge in terms of where our city was. Had he been paying attention, he would have noticed that Plainfield was in a very bad place with nothing happening, no development, taxes high through the roof. And as a result of what we're doing, bringing in so much additional revenues and being able to get the confidence of the investment community, they're coming here. So I don't know who the developers that he's talking to, but his inexperience has been demonstrated in his answer a short while ago.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Wyatt, go ahead. 30 seconds. Unmute.
Yes, so on this panel, I'm the only person that's born and raised here in the city of Plainfield. So I don't need a history lesson about what's been going on and where we are at today. So the picture that the incumbent paints, I just do not see it. And I tried to see it. I looked at your melon, I looked at those things and I said, he's not living in reality. This is not the city of Plainfield that I live in. This is not the city when I go knock on doors and talk to my neighbors that they see. So you saying that we have all this development going on, these great things going on, we bringing in money, where is it? Where is it? Because I don't see it. And let's do an open request and see if we are actually collecting the money for the pilots, because I don't believe we are, but I do not see it.
All right, thank you very much. Either the remaining two gentlemen have anything to say on that topic? Unmute yourself, please.
Except for the fact that some of us came to Plainfield on our own choice. It's a choice we made to come here. You do not have to be born in Plainfield to contribute to Plainfield. We are all Plainfielders. After 24 years living in Plainfield, I don't see any other place as home but Plainfield. So let's stop talking about being born here or coming from somewhere else. We are all of Plainfield. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question. What is your position regarding the need for an acute care facility in Plainfield? Sean McKenna, we're starting with you.
You know, this is a complicated issue, and I think part of it is outside of the control of Plainfield. And I think that we need to start realizing that healthcare in the U.S. is changing, and healthcare in the U.S. is a problem. There's a lot of hospitals closing. They're changing their models. It's dramatically different than it was years ago. It doesn't mean that we have to like it. It doesn't mean that we have to be happy about it. But the reality is, as much as I would like an acute care facility in Plainfield and to have Muhlenberg reactivated as a hospital, I don't think that it's in the model of healthcare right now, unfortunately. And I think where we are right now with Muhlenberg, that will have a medical mall, which is their current phase that they're in. I think that is the future. And I think what's most important is getting healthcare to our residents through either Obamacare and other services so that they have the ability to get preventive healthcare services and not so much on the critical care. That's kind of a little late in the game. But
Thank you very much. Mr. Wyatt, the acute care facility in Plainfield.
Yes, I do believe that we need that facility in the city of Plainfield. Too many of our community members have to travel to other towns in order to get those services that we once had right here within our city. 18% of our seniors are actually living in poverty. So one, we need to make sure that we are creating a wellness culture within the city, and that will help prevent some of the matters. However, Plainfield, 52,000 residents, we had a big hospital here. We need those services here within our city. Our neighbors need them.
Thank you. Henrilynn Ibezim. Please unmute. Okay.
I am for emergency care and preventive care. I have a healthcare background, and I know that it's very important to have your citizens healthy to be able to live a productive life. So, whatever the politics is about Muhlenberg Hospital, we would not get to understand until we are in office to be able to know what role to play and what decisions to make. Not being in office, you're not in position to make that decision. So, emergency care, preventive care is key to any society to be able to make progress.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mapp.
Two of my daughters were born at the former Muhlenberg Hospital. The older one of the two is older than my young and inexperienced challenger, Mr. Wyatt. I have been in this city longer than he has been born. And so to use these code words that you have to be born here in order to contribute here is such silliness that there were mayors before me that were born here and haven't been able to transform and to turn around the city in the way that I have over the course of the last 7+ years. So stop using that nonsense about I was born here. It is empty, it means nothing. Be able to significantly transform the city in the way that I have, but the issue of an acute care facility is one of the reasons why I brought the development to that former campus that will provide a medical mall to bring medical services to the community that desperately needs it.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Wyatt, rebuttal, 30 seconds.
Yes, I would just like to tell Mayor Mapp, relax. You're the mayor of the people of the city of Plainfield, and that's how you should act. So I live in Plainfield. I'm a taxpayer. Right now, you're my mayor. So the tone and the name calling, we don't need all of that. But answer the question, relax, and let's get through this.
Anyone else? All right, let's go to the next question. What is your view on tax breaks for developers? How does it benefit the community? And we will begin with Richard Wyatt.
It hasn't. Pilots and the abatements, it hasn't helped the community at all. So we have this philosophy, building and they will come. We're going to oversaturate Plainfield with apartments, but I don't see it. The data doesn't show that we even have a shortage of housing, but we continue to push for overdevelopment within the city. So the pilots, and if you just think as a taxpayer within the city of Plainfield, the developers are getting a tax break. The people that we want to move into these developments are renters. So they're not paying any money. We don't have our downtown is economically irrelevant. We don't have an anchor grocery store. So how are we going to circulate dollars within our community, within the city of Plainfield? So the plan that's been laid out and the vision that they're following now, It hasn't been working, and it does not work for the city and our residents here.
All right, thank you very much. Next, Mr. Ibezim, unmute, please.
I am not for tax breaks for developers. If you're coming to invest in Plainfield, I expect you to come and make contributions to Plainfield. The residents of Plainfield are getting nothing for the investments that are coming, the development that are coming into Plainfield. So if a developer is interested in coming to Plainfield, make them pay taxes in Plainfield. Otherwise, the burden is on residents of Plainfield. The residents are paying so much for developers to be here. And the developers are only enjoying Plainfield. Seniors in Plainfield are paying for the developers to be here. When are the seniors going to enjoy their stay in Plainfield? Developers have to start paying their fair share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mapp.
So clearly, the 10 years that Mr. Wyatt has spent in the tax assessor's office, he hasn't learned anything. Because if he is standing here this evening representing that pilots don't result in tax dollars, it shows, it demonstrates a lack of understanding of what pilots mean. We bring more tax dollars into the city as a result of pilots. Take the project on South Avenue, the Quinn. Had we done nothing at that site, over 30 years, we would have collected about $1.2 million. Over the same time period, we're going to collect over $15 million. Take another project that is slated for the 4th ward where development needs to happen and has been happening under my tenure. That project in the 600 block, if we did nothing, we would collect only $1.2 million between the school board and the city. Under the development, we're going to bring in $39 million, real tax dollars.
Thank you. Mr. McKenna.
Yeah, so this is where the Plainfield Not Politics comes in. And I'm going to tell you right now that I think this is one of the biggest examples of a political hockey puck and an injustice to the citizens of Plainfield, because these pilots, I'm not opposed to pilots. And I've said that to many people who like to challenge me on pilots. I'm not opposed to pilots. Do I think our pilots are structured properly? I do not. I think that they need to be a little more balanced towards the taxpayers than to the developers. However, I will tell you that pilots have an advantageous effect on bringing in much needed development. And that is what they're intended for. It's a marketing tool. It's a way to spark development, to get an area revitalized. But I really think that the mayor and his administration, and quite honestly, the council people have done a severe disservice by not explaining this at each time there's a pilot, by not outlining it, by not standing there and answering questions that the citizens have. We let this confusion go on within the community and we don't address it head on. And it's time that we stop that, because they are beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a 30-second rebuttal from Mr. Wyatt.
Yes, I'm not opposed to pilots or development. However, it has to be strategically done. I'm not sure what class you learned the mathematics, but to me, it does not make sense. And the documents that you had during your briefing, I'm pretty sure that I assisted with helping those. And you speak about the lack of experience that I have. I'm in good company. It's 4 of us on the call. Only one person is a mayor right now. So the things that you're saying, it just doesn't make sense. You talk about pilots and all the money that has come in. You promote a 0% tax increase. That was due to the COVID funds, right? We didn't have any summer youth programs. You cut a lot of programs out that wasn't taking place. I'll stop.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wyatt. Anyone else rebuttal? Sure, Mr. Mapp, 30 seconds.
The city has not, as of yet, received a dime in COVID-19 funds. We were able to deliver a no tax increase budget, a reduction in taxes as a result of a deliberate, intentional, practice by my administration, where we reduced taxes while maintaining services. We restored the recreational programs while at the same time reducing taxes. And so there's no ARP funds that are in that budget. None.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McKenna, 30
Yeah,
seconds.
I think that we need to clarify that zero tax increase is not a tax reduction. And during the budget talks this year, there was a lot of conversation by the talking points by the directors that the mayor asked them to cut, to dig deep. You don't dig deep to cut and paste from last year. You dig deep when you want to cut. You dig deep when you sell 7 SUVs and take away the cost of insurance and the keys to the city gas pump. That's digging deep. Digging deep is not cutting and pasting last year's budget and making a few changes here and there.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? You had your one chance, Mr. Mapp. I'm sorry. We have to go to the next question. And all right, what are your views of providing progress reports for city officials, committees, and boards? Mr. Mapp, we're starting with you.
Repeat the question, please.
What are your views of providing progress reports for city officials, committees, and boards?
Well, the city, in general, we provide progress reports in terms of the council meetings that we have. We respond to citizens' complaints and questions. Boards and commissions, they have a responsibility of their own. They're autonomous and they do their own meetings. Residents attend the planning board meeting, the zoning board meetings, the PMUA. So they're autonomous bodies. And so they do what they have to do. My responsibility as mayor is to make sure that we provide services, and we do that in a very effective way each and every day, each and every month. And progress reports of what nature, of any nature, can be requested, can be provided, but we demonstrate how effective we are by governing this city in a very effective manner, delivering services to all of the residents across all wards of our city each and every day.
Thank you. Mr. McKenna?
Yeah, so, I'm going to agree with the mayor as far as the commissions and committees. And I say that because they do have their own agendas and they do deal with the applications that come before them. So there's a little, ambiguity in there as far as trying to measure that. But I'm big on measuring results. I'm big on holding people accountable. I am constantly asking for data and information at council meetings, of which I rarely get anything. But I think the most important thing that we need to focus on with these boards and commissions, just to stay on that topic, is that we appoint people that have a background that would be a useful skill set for that board or commission, and that we provide a public forum for them to be interviewed by the council. The mayor appoints the members of the committees with advice and consent of the council. We continuously just get a name on a piece of paper and no resume. So we need to make sure that we're putting people on these committees and boards who have either a skill set, an interest, the time, the energy, and the motivation to do the work. I was on the planning board for 6 years. It's a tremendous amount of work.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Wyatt?
Yes, I would like to also echo Sean McKenna, and also just to say that requesting and receiving is two different things. So for me, I want to be transparent. One of the reasons that I'm running now is so many people are disengaged with politics because they don't know what's going on. They're not included. We don't have inclusion. So we want to make sure that my platform and my administration, we will say, hold us accountable. And this is how we plan to do it. Right now, I've been doing town halls, talking about each platform point that I have and taking questions from community members and having that discussion, the good conversations around those things. So transparency and telling people, educating our people on what's going on within our city. So I think that's very important. That's something that we need to do, and we need to be held accountable because people are tired of politicians promising them everything and delivering nothing. And that's what's been happening.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ibezim?
Well, progress report is always a good thing to have. The city should be able to let residents of the city know exactly where the city is, or what is happening in the city, what is happening with the finances of the city. Progress report should always be given when you live in a city where residents are not aware of what is happening, that is not a good thing. Residents should be part of all the programs you have. They should take part in your programs. Encourage them to be part of all the programs. If you have a small group of people running a government and not informing citizens, it's not a good thing. So we should have a difference.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mapp, 30 seconds
So
rebuttal.
I must say that I, unlike anyone before me, I communicate with our residents every single week, at least 3 times a week by way of a newsletter. We send out 2 newsletters in the mail twice a year, in the spring and in the fall. I also provide an update to our residents by way of an annual report on everything that happens in this city, called the State of the City. And so there are so many ways that we communicate with our residents. There's communication like was never done before.
Thank you very much. Mr. McKenna.
Yes, the mayor does send out emails and event things and a lot of stuff that you got to scroll through to find different with loaded graphics and everything. But I think the thing that is missing in communication in the city is actually talking to citizens. We don't even let them get answers to questions at council meetings. Reading an email with a bunch of different events coming up is not communicating. That's just regurgitating information. Having them ask questions and explaining things to them and educating them on where we're coming from and educating ourselves on where they're coming from, that's the kind of communication people want, not an email blast with a bunch of events in it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Wyatt. Go ahead.
And I also would like to say the emails that go out, I get them as well. However, talking to citizens is what is most important. And if you do that on a consistent basis, you will realize that we have language barriers. Some people don't know what's going on. Even I've been campaigning and people literally ask me, who is the mayor now? So the effective communication is what needs to take place throughout the city of Plainfield and making sure that we are able to reach everyone and talk their language as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Interestingly, I have not been receiving these emails. I've lived there for 24 years without receiving emails. So there must be something wrong with this email service.
Thank you. Next question. All right, this is a good one. Provide your plan to reduce gun violence in Plainfield. Sean McKenna, first person, sorry.
Well, I think we need to start with building back up our police department. In the last 12 months, we've lost 20% of our force. And we've got a 125 person force roughly. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem protecting our citizens on many levels, not just gun violence. I think we also need to start having more communication within the community. There's a huge disconnect. There's a huge issue with the city government right now being able to make friends with other people within the community, with community activists and neighborhood groups and block groups that get together to focus on these issues themselves. There's the group that we like to talk to and the group that we don't like to talk to. We don't have that luxury to exclude anybody. We need to start having conversations and understanding what's going on in their neighborhoods that is causing these young boys to get involved in issues that are getting them killed. And we also need to start talking about recreation and activities that give them alternatives to the problems they're getting themselves into. And that it's a lengthy conversation to have. It's a tough issue for sure.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wyatt, reducing gun violence.
Yes, so just to give a brief story, I had a conversation speaking with Miss Owens that lives in the 4th Ward. And she painted the picture telling us that the gun violence that happens on a consistent basis, that we do not receive that information. So she told us that little children are not able to come outside and play because there are so many drive-by shootings and guns going off. So the crime and violence is one thing, but we need to make sure that we are addressing the root cause. And some of those things are unemployment, underemployment, trauma, pain, poverty. What are we doing as a city to address those things? Why don't we have social workers within our communities? some people say, I just read the Miller, it says crime is down 50%. 53 people were murdered during your tenure as mayor. So do you think Michael Price's mom wants to hear that crime is down 50% when she has to lay her son to rest this weekend? So if we want to be serious about solving those issues, we need to make sure that we are addressing the root causes of those things and making sure that we are spreading the information, because there's a disconnect when the second word, people do not know about the crime that's going on.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Ibezim, gun violence.
People have to be occupied as to be able to stay out of crime. When people have no work, they are forced to do other things. Get them engaged, keep them busy. They get tired, they get home, they go to sleep. If they're not busy, they're not going to work. The only thing they have as an option is to go out and commit crimes. So, solution, find work for these people, give them work to do so that they get tired and go to sleep. It's simple as that. It's not a difficult, you don't need a rocket scientist to tell you that if a person is working, he gets tired, he gets home, he goes to sleep. He's not going to be running around shooting at people.
Thank you. Mr. Mapp.
If we have one crime in the city, we have one too many. And I will be the first to tell you that in spite of all the progress that we have made in reducing crime significantly, to the person who has lost a child, it is extremely difficult for them to accept the reality of what the numbers say. And there is no question about it, that since I took office in 2014, that violent crime, which includes, gun violence, violent crimes have been down by 50% and nonviolent crime by 45%. That's a fact. Anyone can check the uniform crime statistic. Are there crimes in Plainfield? Yes. And we are going to continue to aggressively address the issue of crime. But one of the things that can happen is that Mr. Wyatt, who has been on the school board for 6 years, should lead the charge in opening the schools, the community schools that were built for that purpose, to provide recreational opportunities for our young people, and stop keeping those buildings closed. Open up our community schools and provide recreation to the young people of this city.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? 30-second rebuttal? Sure, Mr. McKenna.
Yeah, and the mayor is correct. Anybody can check the UCR. And as a council person, when I asked for the latest year-to-date UCR information, which, by the way, on the state side, it's a year behind. When I asked for the current year-to-date information, I still haven't gotten it. I had to send about 15 emails explaining that I was able to get it when I requested it. And when I went through the state information to look at the 2020 statistics, I'm struggling to see where crime is down 50%. I mean, last year we had 190, I'm sorry, in 2019, we had 192 violent incidents. Last year we had 228. So somewhere there's a 50% reduction. I just don't know how many years you got to go back to find it.
Right. Thank you very much. Mr. Wyatt, you had 30 seconds.
Yes, just to be clear, it's not Mayor Mapp's fault when someone is killed, but it's a problem when he continues to say Plainfield is safe, because it is not. All right, and we cannot just accept improvement. We cannot do that. And you talk about the school system and leading their charge to open up the 2 community schools. Well, you have control of the board. There are 9 members on the board. You have 5 of those votes. So every time good things go on, it's a constant fight. When I sat at the table and rolled up my sleeves, and first, I'm the person who have most at stake on this panel here. I have children that are in the district. So everything that you think is safe, okay, this is good for our young scholars, you have to battle to get it done, because you continue to put your people in place and they just want to destroy everything.
Thank you. Mr. Mapp, go ahead.
Well, Councilman McKenna, I have been a mayor not just for 1 year. I've been a mayor for 7+ years. And if you go and check the facts, you will see the facts are there for anyone, that violent crime is down over the course of my tenure by 50% and nonviolent crime by 45%. That is a fact. Figures don't lie. You can't measure me by 1 year. You have to measure me by my term in office, by the tenure. you have to look globally at all that I have done, not by 1 year. And you know better than that.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Mr. McKenna, I'm sorry, you've had your 30 seconds. We're going to move on to the next question. What is the most important goal for city government for the next 4 years? And we will begin with Richard Wyatt.
Okay, one of the most important goals is one to make sure that we bridge the gaps and connect the community. The city of Plainfield has never been so divided. And I see it on my level, and we have to make sure that we are leading by example, right? So now we have the incumbent and the Legion of Mappers, and they have built this basin and says, if you are not with them and you do not drink their Kool-Aid, then you cannot talk to them, do not work with this person, but that's not being effective. All right. Another thing that we need to make sure we are doing is creating job opportunities within our city. That's something that our city desperately needs. And also the kids. It hurts me to hear that our children cannot go outside and play. It hurts me to hear that the shootings that constantly take place within the city are keeping our community members in the house. Those are things that we need to address. All right. And we revitalize our downtown, make sure that we're doing all that we can for our youth, and also to make sure that we are creating job opportunities and make Plainfield, bring it back to its greatness that it once was.
Thank you. Mr. Ibezim?
Well, I happen to be the unity candidate in this race. I am the one bringing everybody together. So the Wyatt people can come to me, the Mapp people can come to me, the McKenna people can come to me as a unity candidate. I'll bring everybody together, we'll sit at the table and we'll find a solution to all the problems that we have in Plainfield. There will be no more division. We would have to sit down and find a solution to all the problems we think we have in Plainfield. Thank you.
Mr. Mapp, most important goal.
My most important goal is always public safety. Public safety has always been, from day one, job number one, which is why we have dedicated so much resources to providing for our fire department and our police department. So public safety is job number one. On top of that, we will continue to find ways to put our people to work. When I took office, unemployment was at 14%, and prior to the pandemic, it dropped to a historic low of 3.6%. So we will continue to work with the building trades and provide opportunities where people can be trained in the trade, whether it's be plumbing, pipe fitting, electrical, carpentry, so that they can make a decent wage. And we've been successful at that. It's only the pandemic that has slowed that progress. But we will resume and we will take charge and move forward and make sure that we deliver on the promise of total transformation at every level.
Thank you. Mr. McKenna.
You know, I think one of the most important things we need to do, and there's a lot of parts underneath this umbrella, is that we need to start having a conversation with everybody on where we all want to be. I took part in a program called Vision 2025 a few years ago. And it was pretty amazing to have people come out, and I had a great session with citizens brainstorming their ideas at Calvary Baptist Church on the west side in the 4th Ward. And it was amazing, the ideas that they had that were very similar when we did programs in the 3rd Ward and the 1st Ward and the 2nd Ward. The problem is we never implement these programs, and people told us, please don't have us come out and waste our evening sharing our ideas and then not implement them. And that's the problem. We do these things for like pomp and circumstance, and we don't enact them. And I think we need to dust that report off and start going right to work on it, because the ideas were phenomenal, and they were not politicians' ideas, they were citizens' ideas.
Right, thank you very much. All right, gentlemen. Time is getting away with us. Oh, Mr. Mapp, you have a rebuttal there, 30 seconds. Go right ahead.
It's very simple. We have been implementing for the duration, ever since that report was released. We've been implementing several parts of that report. The problem is that there was a small group of people who approached the administration wanting to be the implementers. We have directors, we have a staff that does the implementation. So we embrace the report, and several parts of the report have been implemented. So the fact that some people did not get to be the ones sitting at desks in City Hall to implement does not make it true. We implemented several portions of that report.
Thank you very much. Mr. McKenna, 30 seconds.
Implementing several portions of that report. The report was many, many, many pages. And secondly, there weren't a group of people that wanted to be part of our control of implementing it. There were a group of people, and I know you were pointing at me, and comments like that is why people are cynical about government and politicians. There were a group of people that wanted to help citizens implement it so it could be managed and reported on the progress to the citizens. One of the big ones that everybody said was a community calendar so people could attend planning board meetings and zoning board meetings. There still is not one. So, I mean, I don't know what stuff was implemented, but it wasn't anything that I heard coming out of people's mouths at all of those roundtables that I attended.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else with a rebuttal? All right, gentlemen, the time is getting away with us. So we were now going to have the mayoral candidates' closing statements, beginning with Henrilynn Ibezim. Unmute.
Can you hear me?
That's better. Thank you.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this forum. And I want to remind the residents of Plainfield that June 8th is election day. And I want to request for them to vote for me. My line is 14E, is the most distant line from line A, which means I'm going to be very different from line A. If you want a difference in your lives in Plainfield, you want somebody who can make a difference in the way we have lived in the last 7 years or almost eight, vote for 14E. We want our kids to live in an environment where they grow up and become productive. We plan to build a youth center for the young people coming up and for them to have somewhere to go every day, than roaming the streets and having to get into some sort of trouble.
All right.
So on June 8th, vote for 14E.
Thank you very much. Right. Mr. McKenna, closing statement.
Yeah, I've kind of changed my statement a little bit here. And part of it is, one, I'm shocked we didn't have a question about PMUA. One of the biggest issues in the city. They just had a rally that I attended over pay. It is a huge boondoggle within the city. The mayor's sister-in-law is the CFO over there. I think first we have a conversation and a study about killing the PMUA and folding it back into the city of Plainfield, increasing the wages so those workers are part of the DPW contract, and then residents can also write the cost off on their taxes, which they cannot do now. I think we also need to have an honest conversation about rec centers. I'd love a rec center. I'd love a 4-story rec center with everything indoors and pools. They're extraordinarily expensive to build. In the meantime, we need to work with our nonprofits in town so that we can do something and bring maybe the Somerset YMCA or another YMCA organization that will do a public-private program so that we have something to work towards until we have that time where we can build a rec center the way that we want it and the way that it works in the community right now for these times. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Mapp.
Well, I am so surprised that no one asked a question about the YMCA, which was closed by Councilman McKenna and removed those services from the community. I am very surprised that that question wasn't asked. However, there are already plans that we have in place. We have the architectural rendering. We've been speaking to Green Acres, and we have a major project plan for Hannah Atkins. It's a multi-million-dollar project. we can show you the renderings. It will happen during my next term of office, where we will provide that recreational experience. But I would hope that the individual who's on the Board of Education here will make sure that he fights to open these schools so that our young people can use them as they were intended. And I ask the people of Plainfield, you don't mess with success. It's not broken, so you don't want to attempt to fix something that's not broken. Vote column A all the way and let me continue to lead this city forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wyatt.
Plainfield is facing several challenges right now as a result of the 7.5 years, but there are solutions. If elected, I have pledged to address each issue with a collective, data-driven approach. I've also vowed to never make a promise that I cannot come to fruition, and to remain transparent and honest in my goals for our city. With that said, I invite you all to think back to November 8th, 2017, when Mayor Mapp, just the day after his re-election, voted to give himself 115% salary increase for a part-time position. Shame on you. He betrayed our trust by yet again serving the interests of everyone but the people of Plainfield. Being a mayor shouldn't be about the money or the title. It should be about the people. Therefore, I like to end my conclusion by saying this. My wife and I have 3 beautiful children whom we are financially responsible for. As many of you are aware, I'm employed by the city of Plainfield, and if elected, I need to secure alternative employment to provide for my family. Once I've done so, I'd like to make a promise to all of you on the record. I will donate the portion of my salary received as a result of Mayor Mapp's duplicitous vote back to the city of Plainfield. We cannot risk another day 2 post-re-election vote. It's time for the people of the Queen City to elect a mayor who actually works for the people.
Thank you very much.
June 8th, I'm asking for you to vote for
Thank
me,
you.
Richard Wyatt, column C for the city of Plainfield.
Thank you very much.
The time is now, and it's time to throw away that
All
map.
right, Mr. Wyatt, you've used up your time. I'd like to thank the mayoral candidates for their participation today, for deciding to serve the Plainfield community. Thanks to those members of the community that submitted questions. And also thanks to the audience who demonstrated interest in being an informed voter. This is how we make democracy work. I hope you found this event an informative one, and I'd like you all to remember to vote on Tuesday, June 8th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You should be ashamed, Richard, to say that I control the board. You should be ashamed.
Let's go. Are we going back to Rita? Rita, are we going back to Rita or Janice?
Yes, it's to me. Hello, my name is Rita Davis. I'm the VP of Voter Services for the League of Women Voters of Plainfield. I hope you found this form informative for your voting selections next month. For those that were unable to watch live tonight, encourage your Plainfield friends and family to watch a recording of this forum on 411.org, the Plainfield League of Women Voters YouTube channel, and on our Facebook page, League of Women Voters, Plainfield area, New Jersey. The League of Women Voters welcomes men and women. If you are interested in our local organization, comment on our Facebook page or send an email to lwvnjplainfield@gmail.com. Anyone that is not registered and eligible to vote has until this Tuesday, May 18th, to register or change your voting address. Remember to vote on June 8th. Thank you and good night.
Right back at you, Matt.
What is it?